It can convey continuity of not just interest, but of service, of understanding.
Everything changed in a single explosive moment inside the royal circle, as whispers turned into headlines and the world watched in disbelief. James Alexander has officially accepted the long-disputed prince title, triggering a storm of reactions from palace insiders and royal watchers alike. Tensions are rising behind closed doors, alliances are shifting, and questions about legacy, power, and succession are unavoidable. As the royal family erupts into chaos, one truth stands out. Philip's long-rumored heir has finally stepped forward, and nothing in the monarchy will ever be the same again. So, what do you think? Did James Alexander make the right move by accepting the prince title, or is there more to this royal decision than meets the eye? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. James Alexander's royal breakthrough. Royal insiders confirm it. James Alexander has officially accepted the title of prince, triggering an immediate internal shift inside the royal family. This moment is not just a formality, and it goes far beyond a simple name change. It now carries real power, bringing legal recognition, security upgrades, and a new structure to his royal role. What makes this moment even more intense is not only the title itself, but the long and unclear path that led to it. For months, there were quiet delays, unanswered questions, and a silence that only added more mystery around his decision. No one outside the inner circle fully understood what was happening behind the palace doors. Some believed it was hesitation, others thought it was careful planning, and a few even saw it as pressure building behind closed doors. But now everything has changed in a single defining moment that has captured global attention. Inside the royal family, reactions have been swift, emotional, and deeply divided. Some see this as a rightful step forward, while others view it as a disruption to tradition. Either way, this decision marks a turning point that cannot be ignored. The story is still unfolding, and many questions remain unanswered as the world watches closely. One thing is certain: this is not just about a title, but about power, legacy, and the future direction of the monarchy. As more details emerge, the world is left watching closely to see what comes next inside the palace walls. For now, the acceptance of the prince title stands as one of the most talked-about royal developments in recent memory. It has sparked conversations across media platforms, with experts and commentators trying to decode the meaning behind the timing. Some argue it signals a modern shift in royal structure, while others insist it is simply tradition evolving under pressure. Whatever the interpretation, the impact of this decision is already being felt across the entire institution. And as silence once filled the corridors, it is now replaced by tension, speculation, and anticipation. At the center of it all is James Alexander, a figure now carrying both expectation and scrutiny as he steps into a role that carries history and pressure in equal measure. His decision will continue to shape discussions within and outside the royal family, as people try to understand what this means for the future of the monarchy. While answers are still emerging, one thing is clear: this moment has already changed the tone of the royal story, and it is far from over, leaving the world waiting for the next development. As events continue to unfold behind palace doors, without pause or certainty at all, James Alexander's acceptance of the prince title is causing a major shift within the monarchy. But why is his decision so significant that it has shaken the royal family? Could his earlier hesitation have sparked even more curiosity and speculation? Now, let's delve into the 140-day silence that shocked the royal family. The mysterious delay. After turning 18 in December 2025, James Alexander did something no one in the royal world expected. He chose silence instead of stepping forward. No press release followed. No speech was made. No clear message came from the palace. Instead, there was only quiet, and that quiet quickly became louder than any announcement. For nearly 5 months, he stayed in this unusual pause. Officially, he was still recognized as the Earl of Wessex, even though he had already reached the age where full princely duties could be granted within the royal family structure. Many expected a fast transition, but nothing moved. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no public explanation. Inside the royal family, questions slowly began to build. Some senior members saw the silence as careful thinking, a young man trying to understand the weight of responsibility before accepting it. Others felt uneasy, unsure why such an important decision was being delayed without any word at all. Outside the palace, the public reacted with even more curiosity. Some believed he was being advised behind closed doors. Others thought he might be stepping away from royal expectations entirely. What made this period even more confusing was the lack of pattern. There were no interviews, no appearances, and no signals to suggest what his next move would be. In a world where every royal action is usually watched and reported instantly, this long silence stood out in a way that could not be ignored. The media began to fill the gap with theories, each one more detailed than the last. Some claimed it was a strategic pause meant to reshape his public image. Others suggested internal discussions were still ongoing within the royal family about his future role. But nothing was confirmed, and silence remained the only answer. Looking back, this delay would later be seen as more than just hesitation. It became the missing piece that helped people understand everything that followed. At the time, however, it only deepened the mystery and kept the world waiting for a decision that would eventually change everything. Now it is still unclear what all of this fully means. Even today, many people continue to look back at those silent months as the real turning point in his royal journey. What seemed like a delay at the time is now seen as something far more important, shaping how both the palace and the public understand his role. And as new details slowly emerge, the story continues to raise more questions than answers, keeping attention firmly fixed on what James Alexander will choose next, leaving the world still watching closely for the next unexpected development ahead in silence. James was entitled to the prince title at 18, yet he remained calm and in no rush before accepting the royal honor. But what made his patient approach so unusual and even admirable in the eyes of many? Could his upbringing have played a key role in shaping his unique mindset? Let's uncover the fascinating details. A different kind of royal. To understand why James Alexander delayed everything, you have to look back at how he was raised from the very beginning. Unlike most members of the royal family, his early life was carefully shaped to be as normal as possible. While other royals were often seen in public events, photographed constantly, and trained early for official duties, James was quietly kept away from all that attention. His childhood was not built around crowns or ceremonies. Instead, it focused on simple, everyday living. He was encouraged to use public transport, follow regular school routines, and live without the constant pressure of cameras or public expectations. There were no constant headlines following his every move, and no early push into royal responsibilities. Everything about his upbringing was designed to give him something rare in royal life, a normal experience. The idea behind this approach was clear and intentional. Before he could represent the monarchy, he first needed to understand the real world outside palace walls. The belief was that a future royal should not only know tradition and duty, but also understand ordinary people and everyday struggles. That way, when the time came, his decisions would feel more grounded and less distant from reality. But this kind of upbringing created something unusual inside the royal system. James grew up with the knowledge that he was part of a powerful institution, yet he lived without fully stepping into its expected path. He became a prince-in-waiting who did not act like someone waiting for a role at all. There was no clear rush in his behavior, no visible pressure to move forward quickly, and no public signs that he felt tied to a fixed timeline. Inside the royal family, this made him different from others who had grown up under constant preparation for duty. While tradition often expects early commitment and visible training, James's path was slower, quieter, and far less predictable. This difference later became important when he turned 18, because stepping into full royal status was not something he immediately embraced or rejected. It was something he seemed to pause on. Even those close to him noticed this calm and steady approach. He was not resisting his identity, but he was also not rushing toward it. That balance between awareness and distance made his decisions harder to read from the outside. Looking back, Many now believe this unique upbringing is the key to understanding everything that followed. It shaped not just how he grew up, but how he responded when the world finally expected him to step fully into his royal role. James was raised in a way that did not encourage him to be boastful about his royal connection, but instead to live a normal life before receiving the prince title. Was he in any way prepared for this duty-bound role? Or will his acceptance become a burden due to a lack of exposure? Let's find out. Quiet years inside the royal system. Even though James Alexander did not yet hold a fully public princely title, he was never completely absent from royal life. Over the years, he slowly began to appear at important national and family events, each one carefully planned and closely managed. His presence was never loud or attention-seeking, but it was always intentional. From major royal celebrations like jubilees to the grand ceremonies surrounding a coronation era, James was quietly included in the background. He also appeared during some of the most emotional national moments, including the mourning period for Queen Elizabeth II. In each of these situations, he was there, but never placed at the center of attention. People noticed that he was often seen standing slightly behind senior royals, observing, listening more than speaking, and following the rhythm of events rather than shaping them. There was a clear pattern in how he was introduced to public life. Nothing felt sudden or random. Every appearance seemed to serve a purpose, as if he were being gently guided through stages of responsibility. Inside palace circles, this approach was understood as controlled exposure. It was not about publicity or image building alone. It was about preparing him for pressure without overwhelming him too early. Each event acted like a quiet lesson, teaching him how to behave, respond, and carry himself in situations where the eyes of the world were watching. Unlike royals who grow up fully inside constant public attention, James experienced a slower path. He was allowed to step in and step back, learning the weight of duty in small pieces instead of all at once. This made his journey unusual, but also carefully structured. Over time, these moments began to form a clear pattern. He was not being rushed, but he was also not being kept completely separate. Instead, he was being shaped through experience, slowly prepared for a future role that would require both patience and strength. Looking back, these carefully arranged appearances now seem more important than they first appeared. They were not just symbolic moments in royal history, but quiet steps in a long process of preparation that many people did not fully understand at the time. As time moved forward, these quiet steps began to make more sense to observers who once saw them as simple appearances. Each moment added another layer to his preparation, shaping a future that would demand calm strength and clear judgment. Now people understand that nothing about his path was random. It was carefully built step by step towards something much larger than anyone expected or imagined at the time, and still continues to shape what comes next in his journey. Beyond James appearing at major royal events before receiving his prince title, were those appearances alone enough to prepare him for the responsibility that comes with such a prestigious role? Or did he also receive direct mentorship from a senior member of the royal family? And if so, who guided him most closely? Let's unravel the details. The Philip's effect. A major influence behind his discipline was Prince Philip. During private time in Scotland, James Alexander was quietly guided through lessons focused on control, patience, and learning how to stay calm when pressure was high. He was taught that true strength is not about speaking first or acting fast, but about staying still, watching carefully, and thinking before making any move. The focus was not expression, it was restraint, not reaction, but endurance. These simple lessons slowly shaped how he handled pressure in real life. During moments of national importance, he appeared calm and steady, even when surrounded by cameras, crowds, and intense attention. He did not rush or show panic, but instead remained composed, almost unreadable to those watching him closely. It was during these times that observers began to notice something different about him. While others reacted quickly to public pressure, James seemed to pause, observe, and respond only when necessary. This pattern of behavior reflected the deep lessons he received in Scotland, under the guidance of Prince Philip. He was not trained to seek attention or react emotionally. Instead, he was shaped to observe first, understand fully, and act only when the moment was right. Over time, this created what many now describe as his silent discipline, a calm way of handling pressure without showing stress on the surface. Even in difficult and high-pressure royal events, he showed the same steady behavior. No sudden reactions, no visible fear, only controlled presence. This is why many people now look back and see that his calm nature was not accidental, but carefully built over years of guidance and experience. During private moments in Scotland, the lessons were not loud or strict in appearance. They were quiet, patient, and repeated over time, designed to shape the mindset rather than force behavior. Those who observed him closely often said there was something unusual about his patience. Even when expected to respond quickly, he preferred silence and careful thought. Looking at his journey as a whole, it becomes clear that these lessons formed the foundation of the person he is today, especially in how he handles responsibility under pressure. Without these early teachings, his reactions during major royal moments would likely have been very different. Instead, he developed a calm presence that now defines him. Today, that silent discipline remains one of the most talked about parts of his personality, shaping how the world sees his future role. Under the quiet guidance linked to Prince Philip, this discipline grew into something lasting, shaping not only behavior, but also confidence in silence and steady control under pressure at every stage of his royal journey that continues shaping his path even today. Prince Philip carefully mentored and guided James in royal duties long before he accepted the prince title. But did he have the opportunity to put what he learned from the senior royal into practice? Was his attitude and approach to the royal institution recognized along the way? Let's uncover the intriguing details. The hidden path to power. Before today's official activation, James Alexander had already been slowly brought into royal recognition through careful, structured steps that were not widely noticed by the public. His role did not begin suddenly on a single day. Instead, it was built piece by piece through years of quiet involvement in official duties and national remembrance events. He was included in important milestone ceremonies and national moments that reflected continuity, loyalty, and tradition within the royal family institution. These appearances were not random or accidental, but carefully chosen steps that showed he was already being placed inside the system rather than kept outside it. Each moment added another layer of preparation, shaping how he would one day step into a larger role with responsibility and public expectation. Even though these steps were subtle and often unnoticed, they created a clear pattern that pointed toward a long-term plan. This pattern suggests that James was being carefully prepared long before the public fully understood his position or future path. Inside the royal family, these gradual steps are often used to introduce responsibility in a controlled and steady way. This careful process ensured that when the time came for official recognition, he was already familiar with the expectations of royal life. All of these moments together show a hidden structure of preparation that existed long before today's announcement. This is why many people now believe James's royal journey was never sudden or accidental, but carefully planned over many years inside the royal family. Every appearance at national ceremonies quietly prepared him for greater responsibility. Even though the public only saw simple royal events without realizing a much bigger transformation was slowly taking place behind the scenes. Within the royal family, such gradual inclusion is often used to build confidence, discipline, and understanding of duty. It allows a future royal to adjust slowly to public attention without being overwhelmed by sudden pressure. Looking back now, these quiet steps appear more important than they seemed at the time. They were not just small appearances, but part of a larger plan shaping his future role. Today, as people revisit his journey, many now see a consistent pattern of preparation, patience, and silent guidance that shaped every stage of his development within the royal family structure. While these moments once looked ordinary, they now reveal a deeper story of gradual introduction into responsibility, carefully managed over time, ensuring he was never rushed but always moving forward in the background of royal life. This slow process helped build trust, readiness, and stability, making sure his path into public duty felt natural, steady, and fully aligned with the expectations of the royal family and the responsibilities that come with it. Each step quietly prepared him for what would come next in his royal journey forward. Before his acceptance, James had already been gradually acknowledged through structured royal recognition. But what benefits come with his acceptance of the prince title, and how intentional were the senior royals in approving his elevation? Let's uncover the details. The hidden blueprint of power. The signing of the letters patent officially confirmed James Alexander's place as a prince within the royal family, instantly changing his position inside the monarchy. From that moment, new security measures, royal responsibilities, and formal recognition quickly followed, marking the beginning of a major new chapter that could reshape his future role forever. But insiders believe this was never a sudden move. Behind the scenes, months of private planning, careful evaluation, and quiet discussions were already shaping James Alexander's future. What once seemed like hesitation now appears to have been a slow and controlled preparation for power. Step by step, he was carefully observed, tested under pressure, and gradually introduced to royal responsibility, making his eventual rise feel less accidental and more like a carefully designed royal transition. During this period, members of the royal family and close advisors began to notice that every stage of his journey was being shaped with clear intention. There was no rush, no confusion, and no sudden change, only a steady build-up that allowed him to adjust to responsibility at a controlled pace. Each decision, each appearance, and each quiet step forward seemed to fit into a larger plan that was not fully visible to the public. Over time, this created a clearer picture. James was not being pushed suddenly into a role, but carefully guided into it. Now, what once seemed like hesitation is understood differently. It is seen as patience, structure, and careful timing within the system of monarchy. Insiders believe that this method is often used in royal transitions to prevent shock and ensure stability across the institution. It also helps the individual grow into the role without pressure from sudden public expectation or constant media attention. In James's case, this slow process seems to have worked exactly as intended, building confidence, awareness, and control over time. Today, his activation as a prince is seen not as an isolated event, but as the final step in a long and carefully managed journey within the royal family. We now understand that the timing was not random, but carefully aligned with internal decisions and preparation stages that unfolded quietly behind the scenes. Because of this, many observers now look back and see a pattern that was not obvious at the time, but is clearer today. It shows how leadership roles in the royal family are often shaped long before they become public knowledge, through careful planning and gradual responsibility. This understanding helps explain why James's path appeared sudden to the public, even though it was built slowly over many years. Ultimately, his journey reflects a system that values timing, preparation, and quiet progression over fast public decisions. James's elevation to prince was carefully planned and executed in a way that solidifies his new status. But what does his acceptance mean for the monarchy? And could it signal a modern evolution of the institution itself? Let's uncover the interesting details. The future of the crown in motion. Now officially recognized, James Alexander steps into a monarchy that is quietly changing beneath the surface. Unlike the traditional image of royals centered on ceremony and public display, his role reflects a more functional direction within the modern royal family. Instead of being defined only by tradition and symbolism, he is expected to operate within structured, analytical, and system-driven responsibilities. This shift signals a slow transformation in how royal duty is understood and carried out in today's world. He is expected to support senior members of the royal family in areas that require technical thinking, modernization, and institutional stability. This may involve behind-the-scenes coordination, improving internal systems, and contributing to decisions that help maintain stability across the institution. Unlike earlier generations of royals whose roles were largely symbolic, James's path suggests a blend of tradition and modern responsibility. It reflects a monarchy that is slowly adapting to new expectations without breaking its historical identity. And this raises the final question. Is James simply stepping into a title, or is he becoming something far greater within the future structure of the monarchy? For many observers, his rise is not just about personal progress, but about a wider shift happening inside the royal family itself. This shift points toward a future where roles may be shaped not only by tradition, but also by skill, planning, and modern needs. In this view, James becomes part of a quieter transformation that is reshaping how duty is defined and delivered within the institution. He is expected to work closely with senior royals, especially in areas that involve modernization, internal planning, and long-term stability efforts. These responsibilities may not always be visible to the public, but they play a crucial role in maintaining the smooth operation of royal institutions. And as expectations continue to grow, questions about his long-term influence become more important than ever. At the center of all this attention stands a young royal whose journey is still unfolding step by step. Some see him as a symbol of change, while others view him as a carefully managed continuation of tradition. Either way, his position has already drawn attention from both supporters and critics who are watching every move. Many believe that what happens next will not only shape his future, but also influence the direction of the monarchy itself. In many ways, his journey is being watched as a test of how modern royal roles can evolve while still respecting tradition and structure. It highlights a growing idea that leadership within the monarchy may no longer be defined only by ceremony, but also by function and adaptability. As this transformation continues to unfold, many are asking whether James Alexander is simply stepping into an inherited role or actively shaping a new model for what a modern prince can be. The answer may not be immediate, but the question itself continues to grow louder with every passing development within the royal family and beyond it, shaping conversations across the world. So, what do you think about James accepting the prince title? Has he made the right move? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.